and I'm really excited to announce a newly founded Croatian startup called Anjy Meat, which is going to be making real lion meat. Davor Debrecin is the CEO and co-founder. He has been an entrepreneur since college, where he graduated in business and economics. He's also a vegan and an animal rights activist, passionate about accelerating the transition to a cruelty-free world. Davor, can I please ask you to take over the word and give us more insight into how the idea of cultivated lion was born?
Yeah, I mean, one day just the lion came passing by, and I was like, "Oh, let's take a piece of it and make meat out of it." No, I'm just joking. Tin, thank you very much for the introduction, and I think you look really sharp in this office of yours. You can, if the cultivated meat career doesn't work, I think a president of Croatia is something that's poised for you. Okay, guys, so thank you very much for having me. I have some slides ready, but I'm going to start just talking to the camera just to give yourself an intro, because as Tina said, we are a really early stage company, and I'm funding it myself right now. So we are pre money, and it's actually something that the talk is going to be about the business side of things. Obviously, as we heard with these amazing talks and amazing people, the technology side of it, the science side of it is truly mind-blowing, especially for me, because my background is not in science. So I truly think that the smart people working on this problem are the key ingredient and the key solution to really see, even think of the world that we wish to see for animals to be liberated in this horrible food system. So, but also it's really important to take into account the business side of things, and that's what actually inspired me to dig in a little bit deeper into this subject. And as Tim said, me and my girlfriend, now fiance, we became vegan like 2 years ago. And we were actually shocked and horrified. I was shocked and horrified when I made myself to see the documentaries of the footages from the slaughterhouses. And I was really shocked how I ever thought that this was okay to those poor creatures. And if we wouldn't do it to our dog, why are we so blinded to doing it so on such a huge scale to more or less the same sentient beings as the pets that we cherish and consider our family members? So, and that's why we became vegan, and we started changing our lifestyle, and eventually we were really happy to be vegan. And our vegan plant-based diet is something that's completely fulfilling my needs. I'm not even thinking about meat like ever, but I was a huge meat eater, and that was really a shock to me that I so adapted to the plant-based diet so quickly. And then after a certain time, we were just digging into that subject more and more, and we started doing some activism, and that's how me and Tin actually met. We started doing the Anonymous for the Voiceless chapter, Cube of Truth, in our capital of Croatia, Zagreb, and we started showing people on the street the same footages, and we started talking with them to really inspire them that if they continue to buy those products, and they are supporting animal cruelty, and if they are against animal cruelty, they are a little bit of a hypocrite, right? So we were really trying to use activism as a way to inspire people to go vegan and so on. But you really quickly realize that activism is not a way to make the world go vegan. And we were always thinking like, probably there's no way that we can do something in the cultivated meat space, because that was the next logical space. If we want to see a vegan world, then the way of producing meat has to change. And I've known about Mosa Meat, I've known about various companies that are now the biggest companies in the field. And I was really glad that they're working on that problem, but I was never thinking about it even a little bit more deeply. And then when I started talking with Tin and with other people, I really dig deep into the business side of things. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. And that's how we came to something really eccentric and really a little bit crazy, like a lion burger. What's really the key issue? As with any new technology, you're facing with huge upfront costs. It's really super risky. Any startup is really risky. And when you're developing a new technology, it costs a lot of money, simply put. If you go to, and if you see, like, for example, how much money has already been invested in Mosa Meat and also in Wild Type or any other big cultivated meat company, it's already a sizable investment. And those companies, some of them are working without any revenue, without the product in the market for the last 7 years. So a lot of capital is being invested in that R&D and everything else. But eventually, if we want to solve this problem, it's going to be a business problem. It's going to be a marketing problem. It's going to be how do we convince the consumers to switch to those types of products, and how do we scale up the manufacturing and the factories to a huge scale. It's the current scale of the meat industry is preposterous, and it's going to be doubled probably by 2050. So eventually those products need to work in an economic sense. And of course, as I said, anything I say in this talk is doesn't I don't want to put off about the huge accomplishments all the companies have created with their technology and their science and their innovation. But eventually we need to see, like, okay, when the products go to market, how are they going to perform? How are we quickly going to be successful in this? And you cannot rely on external funding forever. Eventually, you need to show that you have a viable business model and you have a viable economic structure in your business. Essentially, the thing that was really worrying for me was the unit cost or the unit economics of the product. So it just simply like, what's the difference between the price you can charge on the market and the unit cost of the product? And you can have fixed cost and capex investing in your factories and your R&D and so on, but essentially what's really key to success economically in the long run is the unit economics. And if you see the competitors right now, they are the most ruthless competitors in the world. Essentially, they are slaughterers, but in an economic sense, they are they have like huge economies of scale. They have huge efficiencies. They've been operating on this scale for the last 10 years. Maybe a century already, and they as a part of that, they also don't pay for certain negative externalities, which means that they don't pay for the damage they do for the environment, and they get subsidized, meaning that the governments use money to essentially give it to the food producers, and they give it in two ways. They give it to the feed producers for the feed for the animals, and then they give it to the actual meat producers. So, and on top of that, you essentially, meat is a commodity product in the widest sense of the word, in the mass market. It's the commodity product, meaning that consumers really do not have a problem with that product, and they can get it as dirt cheap as they possibly can. So it's going against such competitive products is a really steep and hard business battle and economic battle. So I was, that's not actually something new. It has happened in various different industries. And if you take a look at the more recent, like electric vehicles, and if you take a look at cell phones, and if you take a look at various industries that had like a really big new technological innovation disruption going on, what happened? It always happened throughout the time. The successful disruptions happened when the initial products that came to the market were really niche. They were really, really expensive, and that enabled those companies to really grow their business. It has never happened in the history of the modern business world that the new technology has conquered the market by introducing a mass market product. Of course, you can say that the companies can get a lot of external funding. They can get a lot of, but essentially nobody can give you permission to succeed. If investors give you money it's not a money problem. It's not a funding problem. It's essentially it's in my sense. As I said, this is just a story to share with you guys how somebody who just started in this field and had like some kind of arguments to not to be so crazy and foolish to start something, decided to start with this kind of approach. And if you take a look and Tesla and similar companies, they would be dead if they started with the Model 3. And if they started with the Model 3, 1 unit of Model 3 would cost them at the time more or less the same as a Roadster. But the Roadster had unique features that you can market it and brand it as a little bit high premium priced product. And that's what actually, they were also losing money because they were really, focused on really early and made lots of mistakes. So the product was still losing them money. But essentially, they get the foot in the door with a low volume, high price product. And then they moved on to the mid volume product. And then they went to the mass market, but even though Model 3 and Model Y is considered a mass market product, it's essentially still an expensive product. but Tesla is now a $1 trillion company, and we all know how successful they are. So that was like the background of how I was thinking. And then I approached it as a design challenge. I said like, okay, the technology is super advanced. It's super finicky. It's super hard to do. It requires a lot of capital to even get something done. And as we heard today, lots of companies are also currently struggling with various issues, and they've done a lot, but there's a long road to really solve those challenges. And then I asked myself, okay, is it possible that we create something that's, I don't know, $1,000 for a piece of product, for example, like 200 grams or 300 grams of product, and can we make something that maybe 10,000 people would buy? That was my question I asked myself. And yes, very quickly, something like a lion burger came up because it was attention grabbing. It's something that the traditional animal agriculture cannot make. So that's why so to speak, you don't compete with them. You can be in your own field. And then we started to researching that and see, okay, can we create a lion burger for that money? And when I say a lion burger, I'm not only saying like selling something that's just a piece of meat. I think it has to be really a great experience for those initial early adopters. And but as we can, I completely agree with everybody who is talking today. We still don't know if it's going to be possible to make a lion burger. So we have like different kinds of products in mind to be like a substitute for the lion burger or for a lion product. But that's actually something that we're working right now. So we're setting up a lab, and we will going to see if our idea is viable in the truest sense of like technology, science, and everything else. But that was the question. So if we can create something that's high priced, low volume, what have we mitigated? We have mitigated a lot of concerns that the consumers would have. Essentially, nobody, I mean, almost nobody knows how lion tastes. So I've researched the field, and unfortunately, as in any field, there are people who are eating lions, and there are companies even in the US who breed lions for exotic zoos and their skin, and there are people who eat lion. But everybody asks me like, do you know how it tastes? Essentially, I don't care, but I've read that it tastes like pork. So, but we would design the product to be as unique tasting as possible. And that's one of the advantages, that when you present a product that is completely not something that has been available on the market, to just see how you can design it the way you want it to design. So that's one advantage. The next advantage is we can start with a really low volume capacity. So we do not have to worry about the scale up of our facilities initially. And thirdly, we can rely on current suppliers and partners. And I have been talking to really amazing people in this space that are doing like growth media, or they're helping with the cell lines, or they're creating manufacturing equipment. And that's something that we can leverage when you price the product so high. So there are people who are eating, in fancy restaurants all over the world. They're eating even traditionally meat for immensely expensive prices, like Kobe beef or something like that. They go in restaurants, like I think I've read in New York City, the price is like $2,500 for a steak. So there is a market for just like a really luxurious. It's economically, it's like a Veblen good, which means like with the increase of the price, it's inverse. With the increase of price, the demand grows. So it's essentially looking to be like a really luxury product. And our idea is to start with the marketing, because that was also one of my concerns. I think people, the companies that are really currently operating are really doing amazing job, and I don't think that they need any more competition. They will probably succeed in what they're trying to achieve. So I would not be as confident to see like, okay, let's start from the scratch and then go and do our own thing, as Jette said, like everybody's doing in their own silos the same thing. but we eventually would like to, of course, move on downstream to a more mass market product eventually. You know? But that was also one of my key like fears as an entrepreneur, was like I don't think I would be comfortable in having a business that's really is just externally funded and doesn't have any kind of interaction with the consumers. And still, okay, regulatory reasons are one of the main constraints right now, but we can see that the companies leading the way are pushing the regulatory side of the things as well. So in the next few years or couple of years, we'll probably see more countries opening up and enabling this kind of product to be able to be consumed and sold and bought. So that's the reason why we try to like pinpoint to see, okay, can we earn some money? How quickly can we get some revenue? Not because we need the money or we could not probably get the funding, but I think that's healthy. I think that's healthy approach to developing the business, and that's maybe an advice to anybody. If anybody is crazy enough to think about starting a startup, which would be like a consumer-facing startup, not a B2B type of startup. Just think about those things. Think about the economics. And I was talking with one of the startup that really was the most similar to what I had in mind was Wow Food from Australia, and I got connected with George and Tim, that are the founders of Wow, and I had a great talk with them. And I think they are probably thinking about those things the most similar, like myself. And I'm really looking forward to see how their first product is going to achieve, what kind of success they're going to achieve with their first product this year. I think they said that they are going to aim to sell like a ton of product in the Singapore, and then going out with a crocodile. So yeah, I mean, as Laura also said, like they are also thinking about expanding to other stuff, but this is just like the reasoning behind how I approached this problem actually. And let me just say, I will share my presentation, which has lots of things, most of the things that I've said right now in the slides, but I will share it within, but you can also find it on our LinkedIn page. So Anjy Meat on LinkedIn. I would really appreciate anybody to follow us there, so we can just get those KPIs a little bit up. And I will share it as a post so that you can download the slides. But I will just say, take it quite quick look if I just forgot to mention something. Yeah, so what just specifically what you can expect from us in the near future, we are setting up our lab and see how we can just get our feet wet with all the things and strike some partnerships with other great companies. But we will actually start doing the marketing part just really early, and just try to see how people will react, the consumers will react. I know it's probably not something that we can the promise that we can like deliver in really short time, but I think it's going to be interesting for the rest of the community to just see how like the average consumer is going to react to some kind of an attention grabbing cultivated meat product. I'm not sure, I cannot say this is going to be successful. I can say like maybe it's like a 10% chance. Maybe that's also a great percentage marketing wise. But that's something that we're going to try and do. Like just use that crazy attention grabbing idea and start talking to people and just generating some buzz and feedback from the market. And then of course, as we move on with our technology down the road, then we will probably be able to sell it, hopefully. Yeah, I mean, that's probably most of the things I had to say to you guys. And for all the people who are like looking to start a career in this field, I think this new technology and the products that are going to be invented are really going to be one of the most marvelous things that humanity has achieved in its history. It's going to be a historic moment, because I cannot think of a product that's going to play with the biology as much as cultivated meat, and then to make it a reality, it's really going to be like complete science fiction. And I really root for all the companies. I wish more people joining this company, joining these companies. And if you're really a smart person, like if you're thinking about other fields, I really think you should join the companies before Wild Type and Mosa Meat and all the other companies, because it's truly going to be a revolutionary thing to be a part of. And that's the only reason why I wish to contribute. And if we can contribute with our products, great. If we go out of business because we were wrong, it's okay. I just wish to see this happen as soon as possible, because I'm truly, truly looking forward to the day that we can liberate those poor creatures trapped in this food system. And thank you for everybody who is contributing to this field. And yeah, thank you for inviting me, Tin. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, Davor. This was such an interesting presentation. I really love how, besides an interesting product to begin with, you also support it with a plausible business strategy, which is in a way sort of distinct from a lot of cultivated meat companies operating today. So as the presentation was very intriguing, there's a lot of questions from the audience. Is it hard to measure consumer acceptance on such abstract ideas?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's hard, but luckily we can measure it. I mean, employing like classical digital marketing strategies enable us to really measure the feedback that we get. I'm not sure that's I mean, obviously, if somebody gives you money for a product, that's the holy grail of measurement of how successful the product or the marketing can be. But we will think of like really unique and creative ways to entice the people and measure it in some way.
Cool. How do you envision getting sales from a lion?
That's one of the biggest question, the biggest bottleneck. We actually were not just the technical part of like obviously you cannot take the local anesthesia on a lion, and there's no many lions. We contacted the zoo here in Zagreb, but there's just a few lions. And we also had the problem with the CITES. It's an organization that controls exotic trade, the trade of exotic animals. So that's also another problem if we get like a biopsy on a lion somewhere else, and then if it's shipped here to us, it's going to be a certain problem. But we can get like a permit for that. So it's going to be a really big challenge and something that we will be working. But that's something that probably can be a deal breaker for us. If it's too hard, if it's just or too costly, then probably we will have to switch to some other luxurious type of products, maybe focused more on classical meat than exotic meat.
Interesting. Here's an interesting question. Is there a potential unintended consequence of creating a larger demand for eating meat from endangered animals? You indicate that currently some people do eat lion meat, but would promoting a lion burger as a high-end product potentially drive up demand for real lion meat that could result in more poaching of lions?
Yeah, that's a great question. I also got that from Laura Clark from GFI when we were on national talks. Yes, especially as a vegan and animal rights activist, it would be really horrible to hear that people now are killing more lions and breeding more lions for taking the food. I don't know. I don't have a great question for that. Mainly what I base my theory on is that whenever a lion was like publicly sold, there was like some instances of people in restaurants in America ordering lion and promoting lion burgers. There was like a huge uproar of public dissupport, and the people were really horrified about eating lion. If they also eat cows and chickens, but put that aside. But so I think that we have to like really market it not as just a lion burger, but as a cultivated meat product, high-end cultivated meat product. So if we focus on that, and then you really like, we will not use that line as sole reason and arguments to buy that product, but to just open the minds of people and then focus on the cultivated meat part of the product. We will not hide that part of the product.
Okay, you already briefly mentioned an answer to this question, but if you can maybe elaborate more, what if the legislation doesn't allow you these kinds of products? Or this kind of products,
yeah.
Lion meat?
Of course, yeah, that would be definitely a deal breaker. Currently, maybe in Croatia, but George told me from Australia they have stricter laws. You cannot even make a biopsy on an exotic animal, whereas you can buy a pig and slaughter it no consequences. So definitely, various countries have various degrees of regulating the handling or slaughtering or whatever you do with exotic animals. We have been talking with somebody from South Africa as well. They told us that they're more or less open to like having those kinds of biopsies done but it's when the product is going to be like a cultivated meat product, it's going to be treated as such. So and then I suppose that it's going to be regulated exclusively like a cultivated meat product, not as a lion meat product.
Okay, cool. This is a far-fetching question, but what is the market share you envision?
As I said, I mean, definitely there's like the market for this, like the high-end market, but we don't wish to like scale it up to some huge quantities. We just want to have like a foot in the door in this market, and just to if we achieve like a certain market success with this product, it's going to enable us to more easily move on to another product that's more mainstream, more mass market, and more towards the lower end of the market. So we are not yes, of course, it's the key is to like have the good unit economics of the product, because if you have a good unit economics of price, your whole company looks much better, and your like negotiating power with investors and so on is a little bit easier than you just asking them money to create something that's going to have a really slim unit economics or unit margin of your product. So that's the idea is not to like stay forever only on lion meat. It's just to have like a first step towards more mass market products.
All right. And perhaps the final question, how has your activist stance impacted your ability to attract investors, if it has impacted it in any way?
Yeah, as I said, we have been approached by some investors. We've been talking with some accelerators as well, but that was not. I have not spent a lot of time talking with many investors. But that's to spin off this question a little bit. The main concern I had when thinking about investors was about the non-mission aligned investors. So there's lots of VC funds and accelerators who are funded by, for example, Tyson Ventures or Cargill, or the big meat producers. And I had a little bit hesitancy to approach those investors because of the vegan part and the animal activism part. So, but I was talking with ProVeg, and they are mission aligned, as I currently understand. So definitely, I would wish to not get funded or not to take funding from the current big meat producers in any way possible. I do not see the logic of them being a huge partner in like distribution. I get it. It's obviously they're really successful and they have huge resources and network that you can rely on. But I would like to see how is it possible to really stay as independent from the competition, so to speak, as possible, from traditional agriculture as possible. But yeah, I would really love to have like investors who are completely mission aligned and wish to support it in that, because of that mission.
Sure, I wish you all the best with that. And actually, to wrap up, this is the final question. What is currently your biggest challenge?
Well, currently my biggest challenge is that we're so early, and I also run another company, which is my main business, and that's still taking a lot of my time. And but our current challenge is to really set up our lab, to finalize the deals with various suppliers. We are we're talking with everybody, and we're getting all kinds of offers. We are also partnering with local universities here in Zagreb to leverage their facilities. So the current challenge is going to be like, let's just start producing our prototype and see how it goes. We will probably just test those techniques with other cell lines, which are probably going to be bovine or something else, and then focus on the huge challenge of how to get the lion cells. That's going to be a really, really big challenge. And in parallel, I will start the small amounts of marketing strategies just to keep it like alive and motivating.
Awesome. Davor, thank you once again. It's been so insightful talking to you.